Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Benjy's Cafe podcast with me, Ben Harlow. Thanks for listening, and joining me for a coffee this week is the West End star Lucie Jones. Lucie is a multi-award-winning leading lady who shot to fame in 2009 on TV's X Factor, before starring in the musicals Les Miserables, Waitress and as Elphaba in Wicked, winning the What's on Stage award for Best Takeover in a Musical. In 2017, with the song Never Give Up on You, Lucie was selected to represent the United Kingdom in Eurovision.
It's joyful and it's celebratory and it's fun and it's inclusive and understanding and supportive, and I just love it. And it's sort of everything that we would want the actual world to be like, but entirely created around music. It's just joy.
Lucie is also an established concert performer and hosts her own weekly show Magic at the Musicals for Magic FM, and in 2023 launched the Lucie Jones Academy. Yep, she doesn't stop. It's a super chat. Enjoy listening. Hi Lucie, welcome to Benjy's Cafe podcast. How are you? How's your morning been?
You know what? I'm really good, thank you. Please excuse my husky voice. I hosted an event a couple of nights ago for Eurovision in London, and we were supposed to finish at about 11 p.m. and it went on till about 1:15 in the morning, and I was just like yelling and screaming. So I'm still sort of on a little bit of a reset from that. Other than that, I'm really good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's good. You're so welcome to Benjy's Cafe. Thank you for popping in for a little cheeky flat white. Talking Eurovision, what a beautiful community around that show. Does that still amaze you?
Yeah, I did Eurovision in 2017, having sort of watched it before, but never really been part of the world of Eurovision. And I say the world of it because it really is another world. It really is like quite something else. It's joyful and it's celebratory and it's fun and it's inclusive and understanding and supportive. And I just love it. And it's sort of everything that we would want the actual world to be like, but entirely created around music. It's just joy. I love it. I'll go back every time they ask me to do something for it. It's great fun.
Well, you were fantastic. Like, what an experience that was. Were you aware of the kind of audience figures when you were approached to represent the UK? Were you aware of its popularity?
Excuse me. It was one of those things that I knew it was huge, but over the last maybe 6-7 years here, it's become more of a thing that we're allowed to talk about and do, and it's a little bit more understood in the UK. But when I was approached to take part in that, they did like a UK final on the telly and everyone called in and voted for their favourite song. That's what I did. When I was approached to do that, I remember saying to my agent, "Oh, I'm going to do this thing for Eurovision," and he sort of went, "Are you sure? Are we really going to do this?" Because rightfully so, he was sort of trying to protect me and looking at the bigger picture. And especially as I come from reality television in the beginning, he didn't want it to sort of seem that I was in it for all the wrong reasons, trying again sort of thing. And we'd worked so hard to get my theatre career to be sort of legitimate and, have people believe in me as an actor and a theatre performer. But then when we heard my song, the bones of my song, I should say, because it did change quite a bit, we sort of said, yeah, we'll do that. That'd be great. And so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into in terms of like the global audience, etc. And even on the day, like on the final day in Ukraine, you can't fathom how many people 200 million people is. You can't. We've never seen anywhere near that in one place. Do you know what I mean? So you sort of just have to ignore the fact that that's happening and just look at the room, which is still like a stadium full of people or like a large arena full of people. It's an incredible amount of people, but it almost doesn't feel real. I know it sounds really strange, but if you're performing in a small venue where there's 150 people in front of you, you can see all their faces, then you know who they are. But a sea of humans, it almost looks like AI. It's crazy. So yeah, no, I wasn't aware, and I don't think I am still to this day, to be completely honest.
How do you go into a performance mentally prepared for a concert for an audience potentially of millions and millions compared to a smaller concert? Is it a different mindset, or are you just there focused on your performance and knowing that you can't really control the outside, as it were?
Yeah, I mean, the control is the good word to use, because I get a lot of questions about this in terms of anxiety and panic, and I've done CBT for panic attacks in relation to performance, and that happened after I did Eurovision. I had all of that sort of that training and therapy after it, but I've always sort of tried to control the elements that I can. So what have I eaten today? How am I prepared for this performance, like in the moment? But what did I do last week to get myself ready for it? And how ready do I really feel? If I can tick all of those boxes and say, yeah, you know what, I've done a good thing here for myself, then whatever else happens, genuinely, I could not control. It's so much. It's very easy to say, and then very hard to actually accept that. But that's something that I try and practice, and I try to pass on to my students and colleagues and people that I'm around as well, because it's fun as well. What we do is fun. It's not, it's hard work, but it's fun. We're doing musicals and singing songs and performing in concerts and bringing joy to people. It should be fun, and if we have fun with it, our audience will have fun with it.
It's so hard to forget that as performers, we're there to make people happy, and that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? But it's so hard. There's so many extra wheels of the cog that can lead to performance anxiety, and it's so hard to remember you're there on stage to make people feel happy.
Absolutely. And I've been caught up in things in the past, and like the smallest problems can seem like the biggest problems in the world.
Yeah.
And, nothing's enjoyable anymore. It can be really difficult. So I've sort of let go of that, and I just let things happen. And if things go wrong, then we deal with them, right? We always work as a team, and we've got to help each other out. But there are some things that you need to let them go wrong, so that then everyone can band together and fix them so that they don't happen again. And it's just human nature. And it's no different in a big stage like a Eurovision stage or a big international stage. It's no different to doing something in an amateur dramatics production in a local hall. It's the same structure, and it should be the same process wherever you are.
And it's so interesting what you say, Lucie, there about giving yourself the best chance to feel comfortable on stage. To take you back to 2017 when we first met, it was that rehearsal room at the Churchill Theatre in Bromley.
Yeah.
There was me there
With the pillar.
with the pillar, Bob the Pillar, me trying to avoid Bob the Pillar. But what I was blown away with, Lucie, with you, was your dedication, but also how you conducted yourself, and the main thing, your vocal stamina. Even in rehearsals, you seem to know how to pace yourself. You go on to play these powerhouse parts 8 times a week, year after year in musical theatre. The importance of rest and recovery, even in rehearsals, that's massive, isn't it? To give yourself, that the best platform to display your talent.
Yeah, this is something, again, that I get asked about quite. First of all, thank you so much. To have been in a room with somebody who feels that way about me is very nice. So thank you.
No, seriously.
It's something that we all think about, because I'm teaching now. I teach a lot now, and even yesterday I was with a bunch of teenage girls from age 12 to 20, different levels of experience in different parts of their life, and how different a 12-year-old is to a 20-year-old in terms of mindset and everything. But the one thing that they all wanted to know about was, how am I supposed to do this every day? How am I supposed to pick up and do it again tomorrow? And I hate to say this, but it is a process, and it is different for everybody. For me, I'm very aware now of what my limits are, and I try and always live just on the inside of within them. So I'm not walking around sort of, phoning things in and half-arsing things, if you will. But I'm not going so hard that I'm going to blow out. And sometimes I do go so out, and then I can't do it tomorrow. And you don't do it tomorrow. You don't. It's better not to do it tomorrow. And that's the other thing that I'm trying to sort of get into the heads of these young people, is that you don't have to be a robot. And if you consider yourself a robot and treat yourself like one, it's good to a certain extent, because you do need to pick up and carry on, but there comes a moment where you can damage yourself physically, mentally, vocally. It needs to come from within you. And if somebody gives you a hard time for that, you just need to be okay with saying, I'm really sorry, but this isn't your decision. I'm just stepping away for a minute, you know.
Well, you were born in Wales, Lucie. Of course, the Welsh are known for their love of music. Do you think it's the part music plays in the communities in Wales and where you grew up? Was it a big factor for you within your household?
Definitely. I've done weirdly, I've done a lot of research into this. There's a few different sort of theories behind it. The theory that makes most sense for my life, in short, is I grew up in a village outside of the capital city of Wales. I was going to school in the morning and we'd sing at assembly every morning, or in the classroom every morning, and then we'd all go and play sport together in the afternoon, and then in the evenings it was a small community, right? So if there was something going on, we'd all go to it, whether it was a rugby match or a concert or a fundraiser, or we sort of just all were together all the time, and we just accepted that, oh, this is what I do and that's what he does and this is what she does, and it's okay to do two of those things together. And so we're sort of, even when you go to an international sporting game in Wales, you've got men in floods of tears belting their hearts out, and the players are moved and the commentators can't speak, and it's like an emotional response to music, and it goes hand in hand with lots of other things in life, like sport and like event, and it's music is part of everything. And I do think that runs deep. And the further north you go in Wales, I'm from South Wales, the further north you go, maybe about 15 years ago, I did a 200-mile walk for air ambulance. And we walked from the very top of Wales to the very bottom of Wales in a week. And we walked through all these little villages and towns in like North and Mid Wales. And everyone was, it was honestly, Ben, you would have lost your mind. Actually, you particularly would have loved it. We'd walk into a village and they would have pushed the piano out of the village hall onto the street. And there would be a choir of the local people singing to welcome us. And all of the old ladies would have come out with sandwiches and cakes and teas that they'd made and be like fueling us and cheering us on. We'd sort of walk slowly through the village for 5 minutes with them, and then we'd wave and we'd leave, and we'd all be in floods of tears. It was just amazing. And I do feel like in those small communities around Wales, that still really exists. I really hope that long may it continue, that Welsh people are, intrinsically musical.
Now,
absolutely.
And what about match day in Cardiff? Like, I remember being in the dressing rooms. I think it's the new theatre in the centre of Cardiff, isn't it?
Yes,
on match day. And literally, you can follow the result, how successful Wales are doing on the amount of volume you're hearing from the stadium. It's so close.
Mm-hmm. It's a really wonderful thing. I know there's a Catatonia song that's called I Thank the Lord I'm Welsh, and the lyrics are, every day when I wake up I thank the Lord I'm Welsh, and then the chorus, the verses are sung in Welsh, and it's a beautiful song, and I genuinely believe that. I genuinely feel like that for myself, and I know that a lot of people that I grew up with do as well. It's a wonderful place to have grown up, and I feel very, very grateful.
And how was the journey then from, you mentioned singing at school, your love of singing? How did it progress then on to thinking, oh, I'm going to audition for this competition called the X Factor?
I sort of did everything. And I'd auditioned for the X Factor twice before I actually got to where you sort of saw me on the telly. I'd auditioned for it before. And the year that I did it and got to the finals was the year that I'd auditioned to go to musical theatre school and not got in anywhere. And I thought, well, I'll just go again and try, because what else am I going to do? I'm going to have to take a gap year and come up with something else to do maybe next year, or try again at musical theatre school. And that's the year that it stuck. And sort of here we are. And there's obviously a very convoluted, intricate story in between all of those things. But I just turned up. Basically, I turned up and I did the 4 hours queuing. And then I turned up the next day and did the 10 hours queuing and filming. And I did all of those bits. So you can see me cheering in the crowds at 3 a.m, sort of thing, with my dads.
And was it exciting as you progressed through the competition? Could you feel the excitement build for you?
Yeah, I mean, I never really believed in it. which I'm
Yeah.
grateful for. And I had people around me sort of saying, really good, solid, normal people being like, this is really exciting. What are we going to do after it? You know, like, how are
Yeah.
we going to carry on with our lives? And not in a way of bursting my bubble, but definitely just sort of in a very pure and honest way and well-intentioned way, keeping me on track, I think.
Mm.
And I could feel it. And even within the ITV and the X Factor, do you remember, it's such a like throwback to a time that's gone, but if you got to the final of X Factor, they used to film like a big homecoming thing, and you'd go back to your
Yeah,
hometown.
yeah.
And so my producer on X Factor had organized, like they were going to close the main street in front of the castle and get a double-decker bus to bring me in and fill the front of the castle and the street with people. And I was going to sing from the top of the bus a couple of songs that I'd done on the show, sing the Welsh national
Yeah.
anthem. They had like the mayor of
My
Cardiff and
God.
some of the MPs, like, and the leaders of the Welsh Parliament coming in, and they had like rugby players said that they'd come along, and friends of mine who'd done well in music and were progressing, and they'd booked Whitney Houston to be my duet act on the final. We were
My
doing it.
God. Yeah.
And then just in a blink of an eye, something happened with the televote that changed Simon's mind, and he voted against me, and then that was it. I was gone. And I remember his
Gosh.
assistant coming up to me and being like, I'm sort of in shock that this has happened, because it's all planned out, it's all laid out, like and it was almost like she was saying your whole future was there, like in music,
Yeah.
and sort of the plans that they'd come up with, and maybe the hopes that they had. I don't know, you never know what would have actually happened, but yeah, it was exciting, and I could feel that, but I didn't really sort of think it was real. I'd sort of go, oh cool, like that's amazing, have fun.
But I think
And
that's really
then,
great that
like, what
mentally you
next?
just stayed on a good plateau, that you were sensible about the whole experience. You didn't seem like you got too carried away with it. And I think potentially that has helped you throughout your career. The reality of the career, it is tricky, but I think that's kind of helped anchor you as a person and as a performer, Lucy.
Thank you, but most definitely, I feel like there's been a million times where I've been in a show and I've thought, why am I not wanting to go to Freedom after the show with the cast? And Freedom is a gay bar in Soho that has poles and is sweaty and fun and riotous
Yeah.
and disgusing and
Any
great, and
pillars
like,
like Bromley? No more pillars.
absolutely, but they're really thin and you can dance around them.
I probably have in my time.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I have too. I'm glad to be where I am currently.
Yesterday, I was in a taxi driving past all the Queen's Theatre, Les Miserables, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it at the Palace Theatre, just a bit further up. I'm 6'6",
On the corner,
Lucy,
yeah.
as you know, so I think I paid like £9.25 to sit right in the gods with my knees behind my ears, giving it in my head. One day I might play Jeff Javert. Didn't happen, but it's a show you've been hugely associated with. How great was that being your first West End credit? And it's a show that its longevity is bonkers, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's 40 years next year that show has been running.
Wow.
Without a break. Obviously, COVID aside.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been 40 years, and it's been a game changer. That what they've done really well at Les Mis is move with the times. The year that I first did it in 2010 was the first year that they brought in new orchestrations, and they brought in all the percussion, and it suddenly sounded like a war piece at times, and
Right.
that sort of excited people again. And they brought in pop stars to bring in a younger generation into that 25th anniversary that we did at the O2, and we had Matt Lucas come, and like he was such a mainstream comedian, and well, I should say is, but particularly was at the time, coming in and wanting to be part of a musical and sort of showing that side of celebrities and stars that people look up to. It's paved a way for musical theatre and theatre to be a bit more mainstream and a bit cooler maybe for kids.
Yeah, you mentioned celebritydom coming into musicals, Luke's, and I was lucky enough to work years ago with the late Stephen Gately, who was in Boyzone. Lovely, lovely chap. I was in Josephine and Lucy, and what he loved, he had this amazing pop career, but actually, what he enjoyed, which I don't know if you found with the people you've worked with, is the joy of being within a company and that kind of feeling of togetherness, which a pop career might not lend itself to.
Absolutely. Waitress was a good one for that. We had people coming in and out all the time who weren't necessarily normally in a group like that and in a company that has to band together. And particularly on tour with Matt Willis, just loves being in a company like that. And he's in a band. He's not even a solo act. So you can imagine then these solo artists who come into a show, or Ariana Grande has just been talking about it within the Wicked movie, the team that's like best friends with now. And because normally she has her team and that's her family and they talk together and what have you. But to come into something and create something from scratch together like that it's magic.
Yeah. So let's talk about the W musicals, Wicked and Waitress. You played two big parts, aren't they, Lucy? How exciting is it, the feeling when you've nailed it on that first performance, knowing you've worked so hard to get a role, you've succeeded it, you're through rehearsals, and you're flying, well, with Elphaba, quite literally, you're flying with it. It must be a huge buzz for you.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. Waitress was an interesting one because the casting process happened, and it was all very positive, and it looked likely that I was going to book the role. And then sort of months went by and I didn't hear anything, and everyone else was booking their roles and having negotiations and signing contracts, and I was on hold, which for Tracy means you basically like second choice or penciled, like in case the first person doesn't want it. And we were a bit confused by the whole thing, not because we just assumed I'd get it, but they made very positive noises, in my audition process and everything. And then they decided to bring in Catherine McPhee to play the role, to open the show, I should say, in the West End. And so we then had this long, convoluted process and conversation about in what way am I going to be involved? And did they want me, they sort of wanted me to understudy or be in the ensemble or be standby. But my heart was so entirely in the role, and the audition process has been amazing. And I just thought it's going to kill me to watch someone else do it. And I don't know if I can be in the room and sort of watch it all unfold and come away from it feeling healthy and right about it. I feel like maybe it's just not right for me. So I stepped away. And then they came back and asked if I'd like to take over, which I said, yes, of course, that would be great. But they didn't know how long Kat was going to stay in the show, and she might have extended. And so it was all sort of up in the air. And then I booked another job. And so I just said, okay, well, I'll go and do that. And they sort of went, oh, no, we need you now because we don't have anyone else. And we were like, this has been going on for 6 months. Sorry, unless we've got some, solid concrete stuff here, we're going to go and do this other job, which, by the way, I've been auditioning for a long time, and finally booked and was really excited and was like, this is not a plan B. This is a wonderful, amazing opportunity. Thank you so much for this one. But I'm going to go and do this because it's a sure thing and I'm going to do it and I'm going to love it. So by the time I eventually said yes to Waitress, because they gave us dates and they gave us a Broadway run and they gave us sort of like lots of exciting things to cling on to that made it worthwhile. And I said no to this new opportunity and went and sat in Waitress. By the time I actually got on stage, I couldn't quite believe that it was happening. And I always say, I still say it to this day, I won't believe it until I'm holding the pie. Because the curtain comes up in Waitress and there's a little song at the start of the show where Sarah recorded it. Sarah Bareilles, who wrote the show, she recorded this little song and it went, coming close, now it's time to tell you one thing. Every show can be ruined by a bling, bling. Now's the time, do it while I sing, 'cause no one's gonna thank you. If your phone rings, hurry up so that we can start the show. Thank you so much. Now turn off your cell phone. And then it goes, everyone like claps and laughs. And it goes,
man. Well, I'm
sugar.
clapping. What a treat.
I know, it's so fun, isn't it? It's
God,
such a fun
you're going to
song.
set me off here, Lucy. That's beautiful.
Oh, absolutely not. But then everyone claps and laughs and they're like, great, the show's starting. And the lights come down. And the intro to the show is sugar, 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 butter, flour. And then the curtain flies out and Jenna is stood there with flour in her hands and she does like a little, then like for the listener, I'm clapping my hands and like the flour like puffs up into the sky. It's this beautiful image. And literally we stood there and they did the song at the beginning and then it went sugar. And I was like, oh my God, I'm actually about to do a show of Waitress. I hadn't been announced as Jenna. There was no public knowledge that I was about to do the actual show for reasons that I'll never fully understand. But it was just like a wild process and not like a audition for a job, get a job, rehearse for 2 months, go into the theatre with everyone else, join, do your tech rehearsals, do a dress rehearsal, and you all open together. The show was running. They rehearsed me in like 4 days and they just put me on without sort of announcing it or anything. It wasn't a normal, usual sort of process.
The usual process, yeah.
So when that happened, and I just got this, my stomach just like flipped and dropped and did somersaults, and I never felt anything like it, and I probably won't ever again. And a lot of the scenes in Waitress start with Jenna walking into the diner and going over to old Joe, who's the owner of the diner, and having a conversation with him where he sort of ribs her about something, but he's very fond of her. And so every time I walked over to old Joe, I was like, oh my God, what scene am I in? What's happening? I don't know what's going on. It was so sort of like, scary. But we got through it and we got to the end and I just had a complete emotional break in the curtain call. I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
Well, what a process though, Lucy. I'm not surprised. I think it's a great message of knowing your self-worth in any environment. You know, you weren't initially, you didn't want to sit there and just wait for that opportunity to come along. You made your own choices and ultimately it's led to this, you know, success in the role. It's, you know, just, I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it could have gone the other way. It could have gone, I could have said, you know what, no, I'm not happy to sort of watch someone else do it. If I'd been auditioning for the cover, then absolutely, of course. Yeah. If I'd been auditioning for standby or to be ensemble or to take over, then fine. But I'd been auditioning for the role and it was sort of not even discussed or mentioned that it might not be for that. It might be for another track or whatever. And there's nothing against that at all. But I just was so invested in it and I was so in love with it that I just thought, I can't. And they could have very well said, okay, don't worry, thank you, bye-bye. And then it could never have happened. But I sort of had to be okay with that happening as well, which I don't know if I really was. So thank God it went the way that it did.
It's obviously something that still makes you so happy. It must be wonderful, and the joy it's given to your family and friends as well.
Oh yeah, it was a gift. Waitress really was a gift. And when we Sarah Bareilles and Gavin Creel came from New York to play Jenna and Dr. Pomatter for 6 weeks in early 2020. So David Hunter and I took a little step away from the show, and I decided to do to record a live album and do a big concert and things. And I'm so glad I did, because during that 6 weeks was when the pandemic hit, and so we didn't ever get to close the show, and we still haven't. Like we went on tour separately and did bits of the tour. But when we got that email, it was the first night of the NHS clap. I'll never forget. We sat in our little flat, Ethan and I, and we were getting our pots and pans ready to go out and do the thing, because we'd seen it on the news. Everyone's going to come out and do it at 7:00 on a Tuesday. And it must have been about 5 minutes before, because we were literally sat waiting for it. And then my email popped up, and it was the general manager of Waitress saying, unfortunately, we won't be returning. This is going to close us. And I just had this childlike emotional response to it. I sobbed. I could not stop. The fact that we didn't get to close the show. We hadn't opened it in a conventional way for me, for when I came into the show, but we didn't get to close it. We didn't have our our moment to sort of say goodbye to it and mourn it.
Well, that period was so tough, wasn't it? Like every creative person, and in fact, so many industries, Lucy, were stifled of being able to perform, to earn their living, but also the joy of when theatres did reopen, seeing kind of reconfirm just how much, especially the British theatre-going public, love their theatre. People need that happiness and need that enjoyment from theatre. When you touched on it earlier, was Wicked at the Apollo Victoria, I think, wasn't it, in London, and is still running there. That show just keeps going, doesn't it? It's a fantastic show. That must have been hugely enjoyable too.
Yeah, I've been auditioning for it for a long time. And so when I booked it, I was beyond thrilled, but it's huge. So it was a daunting task. But I loved playing Alphaba. I loved it. It's a gift of a role. She's a beast. And she taught me a lot about myself as a performer and as a person.
Amazing.
But I don't know if I'll ever play a more difficult not play a more difficult, have a more difficult task ahead of me. Looking forward to, so it was over a year on stage. It was like 14 months, I think, in the end, of 6 days a week of coming out of a run of 3 shows as well. I'd done 3 shows back to back before it and doubled up, so I was tired going in. And I was sort of looking at it like, oh my God, it's daunting. It's huge. I'm looking up this huge mountain, but my God, it's an amazing show. My God, it's amazing. And the feeling of a couple of moments in the show, the first entrance as Alphaba is the doors open at the back and you run down as a young, excited Alphaba turning up at school for the first time with all the hope and possibility of the world in your eyes and in your heart. And you come out and you look out into this imaginary universe and university, I should say, as well. And I had it all in my mind of what I wanted to see, and doing that every day. It's the perfect start to a show. And then at the end of Act 1, you fly and you become comfortable in your power and you start accepting who you are and realizing that you are a powerful, badass woman queen. And there's some moments throughout the show that just, I don't know if they'll ever be matched in any other show or role. And I just loved it. I loved it.
You've been performing concerts for years. You've got a few coming up at Cadogan Hall, haven't you?
It's May 12th. I've got these gigs at Cadogan Hall. And
beautiful venue,
amazing.
Isn't it?
Oh, it's gorgeous. If you've never
Stunning,
been, come along just to see the room. It's lush. I've got some amazing guests. I've got a brilliant band. I'm so excited. I am really genuinely excited about these gigs. And a lot of theatre performers sort of say, I don't like doing that because I don't have the words written down for me. I'm not playing character. I feel like out of my comfort zone. But
with the concerts, do you have to liaise with your producer on set list, or is it all your decision, or liaising with your musical supervisor? How does that process work?
It's always different, to be honest. This one is just me. I was keen to sort of curate a set list that's slightly different to what I normally would do. There's songs in there that if I don't sing, I'll get strung up when I leave the stage door. So there are certain ones in there that I will always do, and I'll try and make them slightly different for the people that always come along. But yeah, there's a few songs in there that I've never done before. And that might surprise people who normally would come and watch me sing. If they've seen me multiple times, they might go, oh, and I love that. I did a gig in New York last month, and I sang What's Up, the Four Non-Blondes track. And
amazing.
I started it, and one of the girls, she sat on a little like cabaret table at the front, and she's seen me so many times. I literally heard her go, ooh. I was like, I love that. I love being a surprise.
That's great, isn't it? Yeah, to keep your fan base guessing, and it must be lovely for you as well to perform new stuff.
Absolutely. I love some of these songs, like She Used to Be Mine. I'm going to sing that for the rest of my life. It's a gift. It is such a gift, and I love it so much. It really is. I will never get bored of it. Dream to Dream. Like, there's some of these songs that I've been so lucky to sing
Is it lovely? You set up Lucie Jones Academy, launched last year, 2023. Is it lovely just seeing youngsters enjoy themselves within the musical genre, seeing them just being themselves? It must be really lovely to see that.
It really is. One of the reasons that I love it so much is the connections that I'm making with these young people. I'm very aware that most of them are working incredibly hard to hopefully become performers and work in the industry. But I get to spend a couple of hours with people through learning and changing and improving themselves and watching them understand, and the fear going from their face and it becoming, oh, that was easier, or smiling because they achieved something that they didn't know they could do 45 minutes ago. The eureka moments for me are like, they make me want to sob. I posted a picture last night on my Academy page, which I'll show you now. But if you want to see it, listener, and you're listening and not watching us, go to Lucie Jones Academy Instagram page. This photo here, Ben, I don't know if you can see it.
Let's have a look. Yeah.
So we're both like charging. We were in a church in Peterborough, and this lovely girl called Brie brought Don't Rain on My Parade. And I was trying to G her up and give her loads of energy. And so we were charging around. We were having so much fun. We got to the end of it and she went, oh, it feels so different. And I was like, that's it. That's the moment when you feel like you've finished that. You've got a big smile on your face and you've hit into something that you wouldn't. That's, for me, is the complete joy of it. And I just love it. We're trying to create an environment of support and warmth and play and just friendly experience for people. I'm so keen for people to feel supported in a room and feel safe to experiment and try. And it is playful and it should be playful even when we're doing very serious pieces. And I'm really proud of what we've created so far.
And you don't know what children are going through at home, do you? And it's, I think, to create that empathy within a group and for children to have that release, it might just be, their one highlight of the week, of the term. And I think it's wonderful that you're helping people have that comfort. Oh,
well, thank you. I love it. I really do love it. And you're right, you don't know what anyone's going through, and it doesn't stop with children. It's about meeting people and greeting them with understanding and patience and respect from the outset. It's really important. I think it's really important.
We have had a really lovely chat, Liz, here at Benjy's Cafe podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'd love to ask my guest, what's on the dinner plan for tonight? Oh, cheers! What's on the what's on the dinner menu tonight, Liz? Do you have time to plan that?
Yeah. Do you know what? At the minute, I do. And today I'm going to cook. Actually, I'm home alone this evening, so I'm going to cook myself something healthy and nutritious. I'm trying this new thing where I don't order takeaways all the time and eat like an idiot.
It's terrible. It's so hard, isn't it?
It's just so easy to order food and be lazy. I'm going to go to the supermarket today and I'm going to get myself some nice things for the next few days, and I'm going to cook myself something this evening. I've got a new pan. It sounds so stupid and grown up and old and boring, but I've got a new pan that I'm really into using, and it's from our place. It's just gorgeous. I love it. And it's making me want to cook. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to cook, but what are you going to have, Benjy?
Last night we had pizza and this amazing pancetta mac and cheese. Oh my god! But I've got to watch the old midriff these days, Lucy. So I've got to be careful. But I think tonight, air fried chicken with a bit of salad, with a bit of maybe some butter beans tossed in for good measure. So
lovely, absolutely. And look, you can make chicken and salad really tasty. Tonight.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the plan. We'll see. But cut to 8:00 tonight. Another 12-inch pepperoni.
Nothing wrong with that, baby.
Oh yeah, we'll see. Your success is brilliant. Always remember what your talent gives to people, to audiences, and people you work with. And I think it's lovely to see you succeed and blossom with your radio show as well. Magic of the Musicals, Magic FM. Good luck for the concert. And thank you so much for joining me at Benjy's Cafe. It's been lovely to catch up.
Thank you. What a gorgeous chat.
Thanks for joining me in Benjy's Cafe. Hope you enjoyed listening to Lucy and your coffee too. Make sure you hit follow so every episode gets sent straight to your phone. No booking required, available wherever you get your podcasts. In episode 7, I'll be chatting to the British TV and stage star, the household favourite, Sue Pollard. It's going to be brilliant. I'll get the kettle on. Have a great day.